All right, so we're going to talk about something when we talk tech here with Carmi Levy that I'm sure, and I know this has happened to me, and it's very frustrating. You know, after you've signed on, you subscribe to something, I don't know, maybe you forgot you did it, and then you realize at some point, I don't want this anymore, and you go back and you try, keyword, try to cancel, and then find out, you're basically going down a rabbit hole if you're lucky enough to figure out how to do it. So something is happening as far as this goes. Carmi Levy, CTV tech analyst, seen this story. Now, Carmi, I know it says FTC as in U.S. Federal Trade Commission, but would it matter? Would this apply in Canada as well? And what are we talking about here overall? Just a way to make it easier so you don't go down that rabbit hole?
Yeah, we are going to benefit from it because what often happens is technology companies, most of them based in the U.S., they'll make changes globally. So it'll apply in the U.S. to comply with the law there, and we'll benefit from it as well. And then eventually, of course, Canadian officials will likely introduce a rule of their own. So what the FTC has done, they're calling it click to cancel, and they've introduced a new rule that requires companies to make it easy to cancel things online that you signed up for online. Because up until now, many times those options are buried very deep. They're not searchable. You have to work really hard to find them. And of course, by then, most of us just give up because it's too much of a hassle. Right. And if we're paying for those services, we go on paying for that then month after month, because we're being forced to jump through hoops in order to do so. So they're essentially saying make it as easy to cancel a subscription as it is to sign up for it. If you sign up online, you should be able to cancel online as well. You shouldn't be forced to call a toll-free number where an agent will then try to sell you on, not quitting, maybe make you offers. When a trial, those free trials, when they end, there should be appropriate notifications so that you have the information you need to know to quit before it starts showing up on your credit card bill. And so all of these things up until now, there haven't been any rules. It's been very consumer unfriendly, and consumers end up spending month after month on subscriptions that they find impossible to quit. And so this is going to make them easier to quit, and it's going to save, hopefully, us a lot of money. And yeah, north of the border, Canadians are going to benefit too.
I want to know, I said this has happened to me, and I'm sure it's happened to countless people. I want to know from you as a tech guy that this has happened to you as well. Not that easy to find a way to cancel sometimes?
Constantly. Okay. And in fact, it's maddening. In some cases, the option will not be anywhere on the page. You will have to dig through different menus or navigate through different pages. And in other cases, it'll be there, but they'll use deceptive graphic layouts, so colors that make it very hard to find the button. They'll use fonts that aren't easy to read on a background so that you'll easily miss it as you're scrolling through. All sorts of little dirty tricks that they've evolved over the years so that you miss it and then you just kind of conveniently forget to unsubscribe. And it's expensive. And if you think about it, think of how many people this happens to, think of how many accounts they might have, and how many months this goes on. This is a big money deal for big tech. It's going to cost them dearly.
All right, so there's some good news at least. All right, let me move on to that. I'm not sure this is good news or not. I think it's actually kind of scary. You're suggesting supermarkets planning to use facial recognition. What would they be using facial recognition for if you're going to the supermarket exactly?
Because, if you walk into a grocery store in Montreal, most of them have already converted to what are called electronic shelf labels, or ESLs, where there used to be price tags that were stuck on or, with a label maker. Now they're electronic and they can be updated wirelessly. And so this is in the U.S. There's the largest grocer in the U.S., a company called Kroger. They're introducing electronic shelf labels that have cameras on them. They call them edge displays. And what those cameras do is as you walk up to them, they size you up. They can tell, what kind of, whether you're male or female. They can tell your skin color and tone, so they can racially profile you. They can tell what you're wearing, and they can make assumptions based on what you're wearing using artificial intelligence. They can track you as you move through the store, so they'll see what you pick up and what you put back to kind of get a better sense of your interest. And then coupled with other information that they collect on you, because remember, we're all carrying our phones, and data from our phones is being shared as we shop, they can decide how much you might be willing to pay for that box of bran flakes.
Come on.
And maybe you, Aaron Rand, will pay a different amount than me, Carmi Levy, would, but all because of the data. And it is incredibly frustrating. Of course, using facial recognition, we know that there are issues with racial bias. So Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, Democratic Congresswoman, she has sent a letter to Kroger, as have a number of senators, including Elizabeth Warren, basically saying, we know you're introducing this technology. stop it because it's going to disenfranchise entire communities, particularly people of color. And it's incredibly troubling that you're doing this in the interest of profit.
Okay. This I've never heard this before. So just by virtue of these ESLs, is that what they're called?
Yep.
Okay.
Electronic shelf labels.
They're going to be able. I wonder if it gets to the point where they see you and you're about to purchase something at the last minute, you change your mind. What are they going to drop the price right away to make sure you buy it? I mean, that's potentially what could happen here, right?
Potentially, yes. And they call it dynamic pricing, which is basically, what is the price that you're willing to pay in order to buy something? Yeah. And of course, the store's interest is always in finding the biggest number possible. What's the most amount that Aaron Rand will pay for this box of cereal before he decides it's too much and he walks away? What if there's a storm that's coming in? And so emergency supplies like batteries and light bulbs and things like that, suddenly those prices will go up. Once everything is electronic, you don't have to send employees through the store to update the shelves anymore. Now you can just send a command on the wireless network, and the artificial intelligence decides what the price should be. It's terrifying because, let's be clear, this is to drive prices up. And while it's technically possible to reduce prices, we all know how that works. Take an Uber surge pricing. Does it ever give you a bargain? Absolutely not.
It's just getting worse and worse. Okay, I don't want to dwell on this because I can't believe that's actually happening, but apparently it is. All right, let me move on and talk about this next story here. So we're finding out, and I for the life of me don't understand this. We had 3G, then we had 4G, then we had 5G, and everything is really, really fast. Am I reading this right? 6G cellular networks may be how much faster than 5G?
9,000 times the speed of your current 5G phone, and the number is 938 gigabits per second, which would allow you to download 20 average-length films in a second. So it sounds amazing. It's a report that was just issued by New Scientist. Engineers around the world are starting to figure out what the specification for that next generation 6G wireless will be. It'll take years, probably into the 2030s by the time we all have 6G phones. But they're already starting to agree on what technologies will be used, what standards they'll follow, and what they're telling us is it'll be a lot faster than what we currently have, which sounds great, sounds like living in a Jetsons world. But if you sort of think back and look at history, every time there's a new wireless generation off in the horizon, so when 3G was switching over to 4G and we were hearing about this new thing called 4G, and then when 5G was on the horizon, they always made similar promises. And so, we ended up with faster wireless, but a lot of the promises that they made, that it would be cheaper, that it would be more robust, that you could go see, say, a Canadians hockey game and still have bandwidth while everyone else in the arena is using their phone. That still isn't the case with 5G, and they promised that years ago. So I'm going to take this with a really large grain of salt. I hope it's right. I hope by the time I get that new 6G phone in about 6 or 7 years, it works as promised and I can download those movies in a second. But I'm not going to hold my breath because they've made those promises before, and the numbers never quite play out in the real world like they do in early reports.
Yeah, and of course, who doesn't want to be able to download how many movies?
20 in a second. Yeah, of course. Second.
I know sometimes if it takes 2 or 3 seconds, I find that so slow. So it's good to know that 1 second is really the next sort of target here.
That's
Carmi,
what we all need, isn't it?
Everybody needs that. I think we can all agree. Carmi, thank you so much.